Squares have long languished under the oppressive shadow of their semi- and pure-casting peers, but a new champion of the squares has emerged in recent months to help make life a little easier for folks who like to do things the old-fashioned way, by beating things to death with something you hold in your hands. Today, we'll talk with GM Naijin about his work to help benefit the squares of the gemstone world, the future of the locksmith pool, and some exciting new development work being done on archery. Welcome to the 11th episode of Town Square Central. So joining us on the show today is GM... Oh wait, I haven't even practiced this yet. GM Naijin.
Sure.
Naijin? How do you say it? What's it in
I
your
say
head?
Naijin.
Naijin. All right, I nailed it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
GM Naijin, who is going to be talking with us about all manner of exciting development work that he's been involved with recently, including some really popular stuff that has been really well received. But before we get to that, let's dive into you a little bit. What do you do for work?
I co-own a online advertising tech business. Basically, the advertisements that you see on websites, we serve those. The difference is we try to do it in a way that doesn't suck, because we're all gamers, and gamers are notorious for hating ads. So we kind of founded the business accidentally, and it turned into what it is today. And our entire motto, I guess, is transparency and trying to prevent things like those pop-ups or redirects that people get all the time.
Yeah, like when I was 15 and I thought that I'd won a free iPad or
Exactly.
whatever, and I gave up my parents' credit card information. Yeah.
Oh, you did that.
Okay. I mean, look, I'm not proud of it, right? I did definitely give away some compromising information.
Oh.
All right, it's good that you're not making those ads. And what part of the world do you live in?
I am in Missouri, St. Louis, actually, which is where SimuCon is at.
No, I was just there. So I'm going to be going to SimuCon this year, which I'm really excited about. And I was just in St. Louis this past weekend for a wedding, 2 days ago. Yeah, in O'Fallon.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was like nowhere. It was nothing. It was just like it was like empty.
St. Louis is relatively small. I mean, compared to a lot of cities. Then you get in the outskirts like O'Fallon, and it's even smaller. So.
All right. How about pets, kids? Anything at home with you?
Yeah, I've got two kids actually, a boy, girl. One's the male's 4, the daughter's 7, and then 2 cats. They live outside, and then a dog that's recently moved inside. My wife grew up on a farm, and the dogs and animals weren't really allowed inside, and I managed to schmooze her a little bit, and
you've changed your mind a little.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids are allowed inside, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Until they mess up, and then
and then it's outside with the cats for you. Yeah, and then other than gemstone, what do you like to do in your spare time?
I play video games quite a bit. Most recently is Apex Legends. I'm kind of a PvP guy, so I fill that niche with that. Gemstone I use for PvE basically. So I'm always looking to fill that.
The competitive edge.
Yeah, I need it. I don't need it all the time. Like, I go through ups and downs where I'll play pretty hardcore for a few months, and then, I may not play for a few months, but.
Yeah. Yeah, so Gemstone. So when did you first start playing Gemstone?
Oh, man, I think I was like 11 back when they were giving the free trials on CDs for AOL.
Yeah.
That's not as, it's not as far back as some people playing on Genie or whatever, but. Yeah, I was young. Yeah. I've played off and on I've capped a couple characters, but as long as I've played, I could have capped a bunch if I played consistently. But no, it's kind of like my PvP stuff, play for a few months, get bored, leave, come back.
Yeah, the cycle continues.
Mm-hmm.
So in the years since your days playing as an 11-year-old with the free AOL disc, what are the biggest changes that you've seen in the game?
Well, I mean, the biggest one was Gemstone 3 to 4. That was crazy. Yeah. I actually loved it. I know there's a lot of backlash when it came out, but I thought it was great.
And so for folks who weren't like present for that change, give us like the headline.
I mean, you had people that were like super high level, way past 100 now, which is the cap. I mean, there wasn't really a cap back then, so you had like impasse healing people and picking boxes to get whatever tiny amount of XP they could, and you kind of just scaled forever. So, I mean, it was a big crunch, like a level crunch there, and it was needed. You can't have a open end like that and really develop for it forever.
And so you're in and out. You keep coming back to the game. What would you say is the best part that keeps drawing you back?
Oh, the mechanics for sure. I love all the mechanics. I've written so many scripts and done so much testing on formulas before I was a GM. Now I can just look, so it's a little it's like cheating a little bit, but definitely all the mechanics. It
sort of makes sense how you got involved in that side of the work, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then and this is sort of previewing something that we'll do later, so we may end up cutting this, but if you could Thanos snap any single change into the game, what would you do? Like, not worrying about balance or anyone's competing interest, just you selfishly get to do one thing. What is it?
Oh, I would snap in Ascension, like right now, just because there's so much hype and it's got so much potential. It's going to be
and I'm going to be doing an episode coming up fairly soon with a couple folks talking about Ascension. So maybe we should get you on that panel too.
Yeah, I could maybe join in on that. I know Estilled. I don't even know how to say his name. I think it's Estilled.
He says it's Estilled, but it's Eslid. He's wrong.
It's Eslid.
Yeah, that's okay. He's working on it.
I definitely don't say Worm either. So
Yeah, no, it's Wyram. So you were writing a ton of scripts. You were always into mechanics. You became a GM. So talk us through how that happened. Like, when did you want to be one? What was that process like for you?
I actually applied the first time, I think, in college, and I never heard back from it. I don't know what that was about, but now I kind of saw the posting a little late, actually, and I sent Wyram a Discord message asking if I could still get my app in, and he said shoot it over and we'll see what we can do, and had the interview and all that stuff. It went pretty well. I was actually gonna be on I think it was like the events team or maybe the subscriptions. I don't know. I wasn't gonna be dev at first, so I kind of lobbied a lot for getting put on dev because that was really where I think I would be the best fit.
And so you went to the GM boot camp and they gave you all the tests and ran you through the gauntlet and you came out where you wanted to be.
Yeah. I actually almost didn't finish because I wasn't interested in being in, I don't remember what team it was, but it kind of drove me away and it wasn't exciting for me. So I actually told them I wasn't going to continue, and they said, what are you wanting to do? And kind of went through that, and they agreed. And then I got all hyped up again, and then like burned through all the classes really fast, and then started working basically. So
yeah, well, and you kind of hit the ground running, right?
Yeah, I mean, you have quite a bit of freedom, really. You get to work on what you want to work on. There's team projects like the Ascension thing, but I don't actually remember when I started. Maybe May or June last year. But then there was training after that, so I really didn't do anything until probably August.
Well, and so talk a little bit. You said you've got some freedom. So, obviously Ascension is going to be a team-wide, big, heavy lift. But other things, like some of the stuff that we'll be talking about later that you've worked on, how do you pick that stuff up? Do you just say, I want to work on this? Is that cool? And then you just run with it?
Yeah, I mean, usually I'll just be playing and either somebody will mention something or I run into something in game or like see something on Discord, like people mentioning archery, and then I'm sitting there and I'm like, yeah, I could do something about that.
Yeah, I think I saw that exact interaction on Discord where someone was like, yeah, I don't really like this, and you were like, all right, yeah, I'll look at it. I was like, oh, that's just how the sausage is made. You're just like, yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a process around it. You have to actually come up with a design proposal, and the team goes over it, and we refine things as a team. But once things are approved, you just work on it as quick or however fast you want to go.
Cool. And how involved are you with the other folks on the GM or Simitronic side of things?
I chat to several GMs daily. Outside of Gemstone itself, I don't really, talk to many, but yeah, shooting DMs, and we've got Discord channels that we talk on quite often. So, and then we've got meetings and stuff that we go to. So, a fair amount, just not really outside of the context of Gemstone yet.
Yeah,
I'm also pretty new, so
yeah, you're still
I'm still green.
Yeah. So your signature recent project, which just recently launched, was the locksmith pool, and everybody really seems to love it. And I know that one of my early memories of Gemstone is the huge crowd of people gathering in the East Tower and the landing, and everybody's getting their boxes picked, and there's a line, and sometimes they blow up. It was a lot of fun. But that crowd has pretty much gone away with the advent of, Larton and using NPCs to get boxes open. So it's just been a ghost town there. So I was really excited, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago when I went in there and there was this huge crowd and everyone's picking boxes and everyone's really excited about it. So tell us about the locksmith pool and sort of how this project came to be.
Oh boy. Yeah, so there's a little bit of irony here because you mentioned Larden, and back when Shattered came out, like however many years ago that was, I actually wrote one of the scripts, and there was another script, I think it was called Townsmith maybe, that went to the NPC, and that kind of spawned this frenzy of not finding players anymore when you can take it to this NPC. So it's kind of ironic that all this time has passed, and now I've been part of helping the pool come out to kind of, it's come full circle basically.
Yeah, so you're helping to address the wrong that you've unleashed upon the world.
I'm fixing my past transgressions. So, but I'd actually, after I had done some of the, like I had worked on that UCS Berserk project and some other like minor things, I'd asked Estille for a bigger project because I felt like I was ready to do something a little more involved, and I wanted to do something that would really help a lot of people. And I actually had never even thought about this locksmith pool idea, and it was something that the dev team had mentioned in the past. So he told me I should take a crack at that, and I got together with the dev that had been working on the implementation before and doing some design work on it, and then I just kind of went full bore on it.
And the concept here is pretty simple, right? It's that anybody can bring a box, you give it to the worker that's just this NPC worker that's hanging out in the East Tower, and you say, I want to tip this much. We'll talk more about that in a minute, but I want to tip this much. Your box disappears, and then a rogue comes and gets that box from the worker that's roughly at their level. They pick it, they give it back, and then you get to come pick it up whenever you're ready, right?
Correct. Yep.
And then you get a little nice long-term experience bonus at the end of that experience too.
Yeah, you get 10 long-term experience per box that has been picked, and you take back up to 250 a day. And we put that in there as a further incentive, to get away from the townsmith, the NPC.
The project currently only exists in the landing. So what's the future of the locksmith pool?
I have 6 other NPCs in QC right now for other towns. Let's see, we've got Illy, Valor, Ice Mule, River's Rest, Terrace, and then I don't even know how to say it, Sigur or what, like that weird
right.
elven offshoot that nobody really visits, but it's there. That place.
Yeah.
So they're in QC. I'm just waiting for them to get done, and then we'll pop them out.
And these are all going to be like local pools, right? So there's not like a global locksmith pool, or is there?
No, it's global. Like if you drop a box off in Terrace, a guy from Winter's Landing can open it up for you. And we did that just for supply and demand. Otherwise, you'd have, it's like Zologoth when that place gets implemented. Whoever hunts there or picks there, almost nobody. So you would run into the same issue where you're trying to use the NPC and or the town NPC, and we don't want that. We want people to be able to get their boxes open by players, regardless of where they hunt.
Now, what happens? This is probably something that I should know. I just don't. But What happens if you give a box, a rogue opens it, and they screw it up? Like they ruin the box. I assume your box is just dead, right?
No, no. So the way that it actually works is the box that you get from the worker as a locksmith is a kind of a pseudo copy. I mean, it is a copy, but it's not a direct copy. It's got some attributes changed. Like there's no loot in it. That way, the locksmith can open the box. If they fumble it and blow it up, the client's not out anything. We don't want that to be a deterrent, because if you drop your box in there and all of a sudden they just disappear, that's not very appealing.
Yeah, that doesn't feel great.
The locksmith, on the other hand, they're penalized with the typical justice mechanics, as well as if you blow a box up, it's like a 10-minute penalty. So depending on your level of failure, you get penalized and you cannot get a box out of the pool.
And so I have a complaint that I want to share, which is I was asking on Elnet the other day how people tip, and I was telling people that I tip 50% with every box, and every single person was like, that's crazy. Like, it's way too much money. You shouldn't be tipping that much. And then a bunch of people said that they don't tip anything because it's anonymous. So why is the tipping relationship anonymous? Like, I feel like stingy tippers should be shamed for not adequately tipping the rogues that are working for them.
Well, I mean, so I've got an opinion on this, and it's probably not the most popular, but I'm going to give it to you anyway.
All right.
So I've been a locksmith, I've been an empath, and I haven't been a cleric. They were boring back before, but now they're actually pretty cool. Maybe I'll make one of those. But you're essentially getting almost risk-free, in the case of locksmiths, experience. People are just hand delivering it to you. You get to keep your scarabs, which is decent money. The tipping system, like I don't think you should expect it necessarily. Yeah, it's nice when you get it, but you're getting XP for almost nothing. Now, locksmiths, this is a little bit trickier because you can fumble and snap a pick, and you're going to be out a lot of money. So yeah, I think you should tip your locksmiths. I actually set up Sloop Beta to be 25% because I think that's an adequate tip amount. 50%, you're just a big spender.
Well, what can I say? I'm rolling in the money over here.
I don't necessarily agree with people tipping 1 silver, but I don't.
People tip 1 silver. That's just insulting.
Yeah, they do. But the way that the pool is set up, and it's kind of hard to guess right now because it's not a global release, but your tip amount dictates your position in the queue. So if you're tipping 1 silver, and say we open up to Terrace and Ice Mule and all these other towns, and they just, there's a flood of boxes, you could not get your box picked for a day or 2 if there's enough boxes coming in.
I love that.
So it's kind of, yeah, they can tip 1 silver, and right now, there's 1 pool, and there's a bunch of locksmiths in that area right now because it's new and it's flashy, and people have started up new characters just to do it. But as time goes on, that could shift a little, and that 1 tip silver thing, it may just disappear because they don't want to wait 2 days or a day or whatever it is for their box to get opened.
All right.
So it's something that we
I actually like that.
Yeah, it's.
I still think that like the locksmith should know, like, oh, this is a box from Milax. He's super generous. I don't know what you can even do with that information. I guess you can just feel good, right?
Not much. You just feel good, like,
yeah, but this guy treated me well, or like this guy's a jerk. He gave me 1 silver to open this box for him.
You'll just get random high fives as you're walking through town.
Yeah,
like,
that's what I want. I want everyone to know that they should high five me every time they see me. That's the main point that I'm trying to make here. Yeah. All right. Anything else you want to add about the locksmith pool?
No, I think it's going pretty well. It's been
people love it.
Bug free. So yeah, I think once it gets opened up globally, we'll be in a pretty good spot. And things like the rate limit or, even the LTE, whatever stuff can change, but I don't want to mess with it too much while we're waiting for the global release.
Yeah. No, I will say this has been I don't think I've seen anybody complaining about anything remotely serious with this, which I feel like with the crowd of players that plays Gemstone is pretty rare. Like there's always someone that has some complaint about something, but this has been it fills a needed gap that I don't even think people could have articulated super well. That just feels great for everybody on both sides. So kudos to you and the team that worked on it because it's great. Yeah.
Thanks. We're happy with it. So,
All right, combat maneuvers. I
mm.
know almost nothing about. I'm gonna preface this segment by telling you that I know almost nothing about these. So feel
Well,
free
you're a
to.
bard, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a bard, and I'm not even that mechanically informed about this game. So yeah, but I always take the passive combat maneuvers because I'm lazy and I like just. It's also the competitive part of me. Like usually passive bonuses are best in a
That's what a
lot of
lot of people do,
games. Yeah,
honestly.
so I just like taking things that don't require me to actively manage anything. So, in addition to your work on the locksmith pool, you have done a lot of work with a number of combat maneuvers in Gemstone. So, how'd you get involved in that work, and then how would you describe the work that you've done so far?
I like squares. I've got a capped warrior. My current main that I've swapped to is a rogue, and I've played a monk up to 60 or so. I would like to cap him someday just because they're pretty fun.
Yeah.
And as far as how would I describe it, not enough. There's a lot of work I think that still needs to be done around combat maneuvers. It's just a matter of getting it in my plate in a spot that I can work on it.
And so, what draws you to this is you feel this natural affinity for squares,
Yeah, I love them.
and combat maneuvers are a way of spicing up square life or making them more
Yeah.
competitive.
So the problem I have with playing pures in particular is that I don't. I'm such a min maxer that if I'm going to play a pure, I'm going to be the guy that 3x spells, like foregoes everything else, sits in garden, and just murders things with CS. And that's fun for a while, but eventually I get kind of bored of that because it's easier in my opinion. So squares, there's a lot of challenges around them. Lots of stance dancing you have to do. I don't really rely on outside spells. I almost never get spell ups outside just because I like to play that way. I don't know if it's like a kind of like a difficulty increase or whatever, but
It's the competitive side of you coming out.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. I like being self-sufficient, so I usually build my characters around that.
So I know that specifically you've worked on updating Shadow Dance and Silent Strike. So how did these combat maneuvers change?
Yeah, so Shadow Mastery actually came with that as well. It was a minor change, but it affects rangers and rogues. The rank 5 bonus used to be a -1 second while sneaking to your round time. So that I added the -1 second to hiding as well. So if you have rank 5 Shadow Mastery, you can sneak and hide in 1 second while it's active.
Which just makes both of those classes a lot more efficient when they're trying to be stealthy.
Yeah, so we do track numbers on things like kill efficiency, and really ambushing is just kind of slow compared to some other forms of combat. And one way to combat that was to just decrease the time it takes to hide. And that just makes everything feel a little snappier when you're playing an ambushing class. So Shadow Dance kind of expands that. It's rogue only, and that was done intentionally by design. A lot of rangers have complained about it, but it's the way it's going to be, and it's the way it's going to stay. Rank 1 of that actually makes Shadow Mastery passive. Shadow Mastery is a massive stamina drain on rogues, and rogues in particular don't have, they can't 3x physical fitness like warriors and monks can, and physical fitness is expensive to train, so your typical monk is going to cap at 1x, maybe slightly more, and 2x is a post-cap goal. So they really had a lack of stamina, especially when you're running Shadow Mastery constantly, which in order to get your kill speed somewhere respectable, you need to be running it. So making that passive was a big help there. It opens up their stamina to use other things like Silent Strike or Vanish or whatever other maneuver they want to use. And then Shadow Dance also has a rank 2, which is active. And then for 60 seconds, your Cutthroat, Subdue, and what's the other one? Silent Strike. They take no stamina, so it's kind of like oh crap, there's lots of enemies around, I can pop this and then just go to work on people.
So it's just like a general quality of life, making hunting easier for rogues change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Yep. And Silent Strike, that was the last combat maneuver for this rogue update, and it just made it aimable. Which is back when it was originally implemented, you would use it and you may get a kill shot or you may not, which was still useful because you stayed in hiding, but it's expensive stamina wise. It costs 20 a pop, which is very expensive, especially for rogue who, like I said, don't have a lot of stamina to begin with. I updated it to work with Waylay and UCS and then make it aimable. Just efficiency increase again.
Yeah. And now the other combat maneuver update that folks are excited about is light armor mastery. And I know a lot of people are pretty pumped about this. So talk about what this is designed to add to the game.
Yeah, so it's actually an armor specialization. It costs 50 points to max it out. And the main thing here is that mechanically, heavy armor has always been just superior. Like, unless you're casting, there's really no reason to be anything lighter than what you can like max out for. So rogues, running metal breastplate, that's pretty common. Warriors obviously full plate. Even like bards and stuff, they try to wear the heaviest they can to get by with the hindrance they can deal with, which is usually augmented chain, because it's a high armor class, doesn't cover the head, so you don't have a lot of spell failure. And really, I've never liked that. I've never liked the idea of rogues like sneaking around in the shadows wearing this like metal breastplate and then wearing, because it's metal breastplate, you've got to have something under it, which is presumably hauberk or chainmail. So you're walking around, you're like trying to be stealthy, but you're clanking.
Yeah, you're clanking and clinking everywhere. That's not exactly, it doesn't fit.
Yeah, I've never liked that. And, it's not something that's easy to do because you can't really just nerf things. Like I got to say, if you're wearing a metal breastplate, now you have a minus 100 chance to hide. Yeah. Well, you've got people that put thousands of dollars or, lots of time or money into armor. You can't just do something like that. So it was more just to buff light armor a little bit, try to bring it up and make it a little bit more competitive. And the main downside really to light armor for a square anyway is the CVA. You've got plus 15 in robes with light armor mastery and maxed out armor ranks. That brings it down to -3. So you're getting a big bonus there that wasn't there before.
Yeah, and what I like about this this armor specialization too is that it opens up some other options that just go really well, that dovetail with the goals there, which are, if you want to be this sneaky, evasive rogue, you can then pick up some combat maneuvers that might fit that too. Mm-hmm. And it goes well for, obviously goes really, really well for monks since it addresses a lot of gaps that they had in their kit.
Yeah, so monks had a real big problem with TD at cap in particular. Enemies start casting really hard and they just didn't have anything to help combat that. So we were able to add light armor mastery to them, and it takes, a decent amount of points, like our training points, to cap that out, but it's worth it for monks eventually.
What other combat maneuver related changes or work have you been involved with? Anything you want to spotlight here?
I did a little bit of work with just making some of them more compatible with UCS. A lot of them didn't really work very well, like Mongoose. If it retaliated, it would always use jab instead of a tear up if you had it. I also did some work with shield maneuvers, similar treatment, adding UCS and then allowing them to hit prone targets for like shield strike. After a focused multi-strike, it would follow up with a minor shield bash. The problem is, after an M strike, most things are already on the ground, so it would never work.
Oh, right.
So that was like a quality of life update there too. And the last thing I'm working on, which is about to come out, is being able to use combat maneuvers while you're in round time. That's kind of a goal is to add a little bit of dynamic combat to squares. Being stuck in hard round time when a caster comes in and they have like a prepped implosion is really frustrating. So
right. You're just like, oh well, I'm about to die.
So the way I picture it going in my head is, you're able to use your like combat momentum and follow up attacks with other attacks. You're still taking the round time at the end, and you're still, taking the stamina hit. But say you wall up this bad guy, and then a seer comes in and he's got web prepped and ready to go. Well, instead of just taking it, you can tackle him or shield bash him or something and disable him. So it adds a little bit of a dynamic element to combat, which hopefully people like. we'll see.
Yeah, so it's got that feel of like, you've just delivered the killing blow, and then you turn around, you immediately leap and tackle them. So you might be winded afterward and unable to do it again, but it allows you to sort of act, to be a little more reactive.
Yeah,
or proactive.
And I really like that style of combat too.
Yeah.
Being able to, and this is something that the dev team has talked about quite a bit, is being able to change the dynamic of combat. And what we mean by that is doing something that you wouldn't normally do, which in the case of squares right now, it's pretty much like M strike, ambush, that same thing over and over. But being able to shift that and do something that you wouldn't typically do, like being able to shield bash during round time. Now he's disabled. That's the type of flow we want to go with, because it's just more exciting and fun.
Yeah, cool. It sounds great. When do we have a time frame for that?
It's in QC.
Okay.
So when it gets done.
Yeah. All right. So one thing I'm excited to talk to you about is archery, which is one of the most powerful and simultaneously most maligned combat systems in the game. So talk a bit about what you think has frustrated players about archery and what you're trying to do to address some of those concerns.
Well, number one, like way above anything else, is ammo management. It is a gigantic pain. My first cap character was a ranger who used archery, and I ended up being that guy who would just go out there and just like fire rapid arrows and just leave them like some kind of savage, like some kind of just like disgusting man, But I did that because ammo management is such a pain to work with. Yeah,
So what did you find? So I've never played a ranged character. What's so annoying about ammo management?
All right. So first off, if you have any properties whatsoever that are different, they won't bundle. So when you're fletching, your fletched arrows can have different breakage. They can have different plus values. So when you're master fletcher, you get +5 arrows, but as you're ranking up, you get anywhere from +1 to +5, or +0 to +5 actually. Even the description has to match, blessing has to match, flares have to match, everything has to match to bundle. And you'd be surprised how often that just doesn't work.
So if you have like, even if everything else is identical, but it's like a different kind of wood or whatever, they won't bundle?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that seems
extremely
dumb.
Frustrating as a player. And the bless and E-blade system, like the temporary buff system, was kind of, I mean, I would say hacked in as a developer, but I've used a lot of air quote hacks in my life that, were necessary. So I don't know the history there, but the way that it works is when you bless a bundle, and when you pull a single arrow out, it keeps 2 charges. So then the idea there is you fire it and it goes down to 1 charge, but it's still blessed. So now you can put it back in your bundle. The problem is when you get low and you have all these arrows starting to pull out 2, and then your bundle runs out of blesses, and then you've got all these random, massive pain because nothing syncs up. So first and foremost is ammo management. It's a gigantic pain.
And so what do you see as the solution to that?
Well, it's everything I'm saying here is kind of like a work in progress.
Sure.
Right? Like nothing's finalized. We're still going over everything, but essentially what we've been discussing is just making quivers or bundles of arrows that by default come with unlimited basic like 0x arrows. So you're able to just kind of fire those off and off and off and off. And then adding on buffs themselves, like the temporary buffs, blessing and flares, still go on the bundle, but all the charges stay with the bundle itself. And then when you fire ammo, the ammo just kind of shatters. So there's no gather mechanic. I don't know if you're familiar with the way gather works, but
yeah, well, I know that part of the pain of gathering is that there's the weird distance mechanic, right? Where like sometimes you have to wait, which I guess I get conceptually, but feels like it would be pretty annoying in practice.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the challenges of design, right? Like you want to make things that seem realistic, but if you go too far or too little, then the system just ends up feeling off. Like it's not fun, right?
Because like from a logical... Yeah, like from a logical standpoint, if I fire an arrow, 50 feet away, and then half a second later, like pick it back up, like that seems weird.
You're just really fast.
Yeah, exactly. I just sprinted over there. But like on the other hand, forcing a player to wait 10 seconds, that's just not. It's boring design.
Yeah, and then you've also got the arrows that fly off in the distance, or the ones that like hit the ground and then are magically covered by bushes that you have to search out.
Yeah, that
All
sounds
these
fun
gather
too.
mechanics and losing ammo, that's just it's just been a massive pain point, and it's just something we want to just remove entirely. So rather than doing all that, you basically, if you're firing just regular old arrows, you can fire them all day long. If you're wanting to use flares or blesses, they've got charges that go in your bundle. And then if you're wanting to do fletched arrows, you would kind of add fletched arrows to the bundle, which gives you charges, and then you use those charges. So there's a decent amount of changes there. It's going to take some time to do, and we're still going over the design details, but that's
Yeah,
kind
well,
of the way we're
that sounds
looking.
exciting. That's by far the biggest complaint that I hear from folks about archery is ammo management, and it doesn't sound fun. So it sounds like a
No.
worthwhile project. You're also then going to be working on crossbows a bit, right?
Right. Yep.
So
So
tell me about that.
crossbows, man. Oh, right now they are pretty bad. To use a crossbow, you essentially need a item from Duskrun, a mechanical crossbow from Duskrun. Anything else is just for RP. Like mechanics wise, they're not very good.
And
And
what
the
is
main
it that
reason,
makes them mechanically inferior? Just they take too long?
there's a couple things to cock the crossbow. That's like 9 seconds for heavy crossbow. You can get it down to maybe 5 if you're a giant man with like loads of strength, which 5 seconds, you're already looking at the time it takes for somebody to swing a regular attack. So that's
Yeah.
long. And then you still got the aiming time and the sniping time and the fire time. So you're looking at like 9 seconds to shoot a regular crossbow. And that's just crazy, right? That's
Yeah.
just way too slow for the way Gemstone is.
Yeah, it would need to
And
be
then,
like an instant kill every time.
oh, absolutely.
And even then, it
it's
probably
still
wouldn't
too
be good
slow.
enough. Yeah.
Because longbows, you can get those down to 3 seconds and pop people in the eyes all day long, right?
Yeah.
So why would you use a crossbow?
Yeah.
And the second thing is that there's just so many actions. Like with a bow, you get your arrow and you fire, right? And things die. With
Yeah.
the crossbow, you have to cock it, and then you have to get an arrow or a bolt, and then you load the bolt, and then you fire. So it's 4 actions versus 2. And so the first thing we're going to do with that is just combine all this stuff, bows and crossbows. With a bow, you'll be able to just fire. If you've got an arrow in your hand, it'll use that for if you don't have one, then it'll find your quiver if you've got, or your bundle of arrows of the new style ammo, and just use that automatically.
Cool.
So rather than having to get an arrow out and fire, you just fire. Same thing with the crossbow. We're looking at combining all those actions into just a fire, and then it would do all the cocking and the loading and everything for you. But we still want crossbows to kind of have that preemptive setup. So right now you can cock them and like go to another room and then fire in 2 seconds, which is kind of a neat mechanic if that's the style you want to do. So we'll still have that system where you can cock it and then fire it, and it'll do the loading part of the ammo for you. So it's basically you'll be able to use them 2 different ways.
So everyone should go stock up on their crossbows right now.
Well, I mean, we're kind of going to pivot them into like the more offensive, snipey, like aiming type of weapon.
Yeah.
There's a couple other changes there. So the round time for light crossbows and heavy crossbows will be reduced to 4 seconds, 5 seconds, respectively. And that's flat. It doesn't matter if you're aiming or hiding or whatever. And the purpose here is to give either characters that maybe have low strength or low level characters that don't have the ability to drop that longbow or the composite bow round time down, they can use a crossbow, get a little aiming bonus, and then always have a consistent round time.
So it won't matter what your strength bonus is. The crossbow round time will always be 4 or 5 seconds.
Right. Yep. And that doesn't matter if you're hiding or not either. So they're kind of like a sniper's weapon. You can kneel and get that AS bonus. You get a slight aiming bonus with them. We're hoping that people are able to pick them up a little bit more. And I mean, I still think that if you're, post cap and you have all these enhances and you're able to get the longbow round time down to 3 seconds, that'll probably still be the superior weapon, mechanically speaking. Yeah. But crossbows will certainly be in the running now instead of just being completely irrelevant.
Well, and I mean, there are folks that make inferior, like mechanically inferior weapons work all the time, like as long as it's even somewhat close. And then there are crazy people like Namit who make whips, like their weapon of choice. So yeah, I think if you give them an inch here, you're probably going to get something, which is great.
Yep. So there's a couple other things we want to do with them, but I mean that's the majority of the changes. So I'm really hoping that'll help crossbows
have their day in the sun or in the
Yes.
shadows, I guess. Who knows? Now, this next bit, I'm going to confess I don't know anything about mechanical vambraces except that
What?
they were. I don't
What?
because I know that they're
You didn't
very
buy
very.
any? For shame.
I didn't buy any, and you know why? It's because I have my item. I have these parasitic gloves on my bar, and they're great, and I don't need
That's
to.
pretty good.
They're great,
Good.
and I don't need to do anything with them except use them. But I would see people like really upset that these sold out, and wanting more of a certain kind. So I know that they were popular. So just first tell us what are mechanical vambraces, and then how did you get to be the guy who designs these new things?
All right. Well, so mechanical vambraces by themselves, they're just armor accessories, scripted armor accessories. They go on your arms. They work like every other armor accessory. The thing about them is they can take what I called mods originally, but that's not a gemstone name, so we had to rename it to cartridges. And the way I think of it is like literally modding items in video games. So by default, they just work as armor accessories. The first cartridge that I released was the weapon cartridge. Now you kind of put those in this device. It's like a device on the vambraces. They're mechanical, Nomish invention stuff. Put them on the vambraces, and then when you're out there and you're like going to punch something, you kind of flick your wrist down, and a spike or a blade pops out. You stab them or whatever, and then you pull your wrist back up, and it goes back in. That's kind of very Assassin's Creed or something. Yeah,
yeah.
I don't remember. I probably saw it on Assassin's Creed or an image or something. I was like, cool, I want those.
Yeah. How do I make that?
That's kind of how it happens. Like, part of it was expanding my knowledge of coding and gemstone in general because I hadn't done an item yet, so it's like, okay, well, let's pick an item to do. And Duskrune, I can pick one for that. I like Duskrune, let's do it for that. So then find an image. Oh, that's cool. Let's do that. And they actually had started off as just like the weapon part. And I changed them up later, and I was like, you know what? I could turn these into a moddable piece of equipment that people could upgrade and keep, and then swap the mod out, based on what they're doing, which was pretty cool. So I rewrote a bunch of that stuff, and then allowed them to take the cartridges or mods. And for the first release, we did the weapon one, and I'm gonna kind of expand on that. And I've got some ideas, like a web shooter, kind of like a Spider-Man type thing that uses SMRV2.
Oh well, now I'm very into this because that sounds amazing.
So would that be cool? Like being able to just shoot web bolts or something at people?
Well, so what I want though is I want like a Mega Man, like a Buster. What's it called? The Buster Cannon.
Yeah.
That's what I want. I want to just be able to shoot lasers at things.
That might be hard to fit into gemstone lore. Maybe fireballs. I don't know.
They're shooting bright blue fireballs.
Yeah. So let's see the web bolts. Oh, I wanted to do like a mounted crossbow on your hand, on your arm. So you could, fight and punch stuff, and then somebody comes in, and boom, you shoot them in the eye with your crossbow that's on your arm. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of where I was going. Like, I don't know how many of these mods I'm going to do. Basically, when I think up one or somebody thinks up one and tells me, I'll probably do it because it's pretty easy to write. I coded it in a way that the mods themselves don't take much work. So hopefully you see some cool stuff with them.
Yeah, well, you've got the Buster Cannon idea, so get to coding. Like you're ready.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, that sounds awesome, and people really really love these, right? Like people are very happy about these.
It kind of just opens up options. So I really like UCS a lot because it's really there's you tear up and you get to change the way you attack, or you can punch something in the throat if you want to silence it. So, but there are times when like I don't know, I'm fighting a magic user, where I can poke them in the eye and kill them really easily. That's where this idea came up. So guys in Played, I can punch them and kick them because it works really well in Played, and then like caster comes in, I hide, and then I ambush them in the eye with a spike instead. So it's just a lot of versatility.
It's basically like Batmanifying gemstone.
Yes, exactly.
And Spider-Maning it soon.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
awesome.
I'm 100% doing those web bolts. Like, I don't know what it's going to take to get them approved, but I'm doing it.
I think that those are going to be fairly popular, so I think that's probably a good choice. I'm going to back up a bit here, but I'm always curious just to know like how this process works, because it feels like like some people for DR get to design like really, really cool, new, exciting items, and then some people are obviously just like redesigning the sort of standard vanilla clothes that are on the mannequins. Like, how does that process work of who gets to do what?
I know that non-dev team members can submit ideas, but eventually need somebody that's trained in GSL and has passed the course to actually implement it. So my experience with it is a little bit different because I basically can just come up with an idea, get it approved, and do it, right?
Yeah.
But you have other teams that maybe they're really creative, and that's who I lean on for things like the locksmith pool NPCs. I'm not creative. I don't even try. I'm like, hey, I've got this system.
You're like, I need a person.
Can somebody hook me up? Because otherwise they're going to be like a fat, pudgy halfling. And that's it.
You see a man.
Yeah, exactly.
Period.
That's the type of stuff. And when I'm testing, that's what I do. Like a man or a woman or whatever. Because I don't try to be creative. That's not what I'm strong at. But, you know, the flip side of that, there's people that are very creative and they come up with these really cool item ideas, but they're not trained in GSL. So they, you know, there's projects that you can pick up, and there's some that I've wanted to do, but one of them got taken before I could do it. So I was sad, but I mean, that's just kind of the way it works.
For the next Duskruin run is in August, or I guess we have Rumor Woods coming up soon too. So do you have any hot new items that you're excited about other than the Spider-Man web flinger vambrace?
No, I've been doing too much dev stuff to be working on items at the moment.
Yeah, well, I think people are happy about that, so I'm not going to complain.
I think you know, in general, people really like dev updates. You know, it's something that just improves the core of the game. So that's always really going to be my focus, is dev itself. And then if I've got some time or I don't have a personal project I'm working on, you know, doing something cool that, you know, my character can use, honestly, because a lot of stuff that I do benefits me directly, but is also beneficial for the community.
Yeah. No, I mean, why not? You've been a GM for 8 months or so, depending on how we count things. You've already accomplished a fair amount. What are you hoping to grow in as a GM in the next year or so?
I think I had mentioned kind of, you know, expanding my coding ability. So the one thing I haven't done yet is a creature at all. And I don't know that I want to design a full hunting ground because that's a lot of creative stuff and I'm really bad at that. But I've talked about it a little bit on Discord and joked about it, but I want to make like a hunting ground that has monks that use UCS and like throw claymores at you with 1206 telekinesis.
Claymores.
And just tossing crap on the ground and just throwing them at you, you know, like all these spells that we don't really get to see much, or that, and 1203, which is power sync, and it gives casters like a huge hard round time when they prep a spell. And I'm just like, that would be evil, but also kind of cool at the same time. Yeah. So I would really like to design an NPC or a creature that uses UCS. And
so basically, you're gonna build a savant hunting ground, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
All right. I'm excited to hear that. I'm excited to see that.
I would like to. Now, that's not a promise. Nothing I say is ever.
No, it's confirmed. Savants are coming out in 2020.
Oh,
We've
no.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Savant. Yeah, that would be nice, right? Release savants, but only as creatures first.
Yeah, that would be really fun. Just like really hated enemies that you could one day become. That feels sort of monkish somehow. The creature that I really want added to the game, and I've talked with I think with Konakon about this, is a kobold bard. Just like a really, really terrible bard that's a kobold. It would be like a low-level creature, but it would just be stupid and fun. That's what I want to see.
Like
it's
walking around singing really terrible songs constantly.
Yeah, exactly. And like not even fighting, you know, just like dying and being drunk. I think it'd be fun. We'll leave that for the creative folks though.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I feel like we kind of touched on this earlier, but if you had the freedom to take on or create any project under the sun, what would you want to tackle?
Oh, I actually hadn't thought about this earlier, but I think something that needs done, but it's such a massive project that it hasn't been done or hasn't even really been talked about much, is like just updating the weapon system in general. I don't know any of the details. There's been lots of people say things like whips can automatically trip people, or, you know, nets always entangle or whatever, but I think that's something that needs to be done at some point. I wouldn't mind doing it. It would be a massive amount of work.
Well, and you got to be so careful not to step on toes with that, right?
Oh, it would be. Yeah,
Because there's,
it would
and
be
I
big.
think you'd have to probably take the approach you mentioned earlier. Like you couldn't nerf anything because people would
Yeah,
flip
no.
out, and reasonably, like they'd flip out. But like I don't know, does anyone in the game use a rapier? Anyone?
Yeah, I mean it's actually got some decent applications,
All
but
right,
like
all right. Let me
whip,
let
like
me
you
let me
mentioned, yeah,
let
the
me find
whip's
a worse.
terrible.
Does anyone use a whip blade
No,
or a
not
dart? Does anyone use a dart?
definitely not a dart. That thing is
Yeah,
useless. I crafted those, like fletched them up, thinking I was going to be this badass hurler, and
yeah. And then
then
you and
I
then you
hurled it
threw
at
one, and you were
something.
like, oh, this is the. It's like throwing pencils.
What?
This is the
Why?
worst.
What am I doing?
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yeah,
I'm excited for you to release Savants and
yeah,
update the entire weapon system in the
yeah. I'll
next
probably be
couple
done like
months.
next week.
Yeah, if
Like
you could
2
do it
weeks.
before the next Dusk Ruin, so that I can use my my dart wielding Savant in the arena, that would be really cool.
Yeah, yeah, I can get on that. No problem.
All right. I think actually at the pace you've been working, that might be a reasonable expectation.
My pace will come and go. Like I'm self-employed, which is nice. I'd mentioned owning my own business, so sometimes I have a lot of time, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
I may disappear for a month or whatever if things get busy. So that's the ups and downs of having your own business, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll
Well,
see.
and like Apex Legends may come calling, and you may just need
I
to
know
spend some time honing your competitive edge.
they've done some good patches. I might need to get out there and shoot some people. I don't know.
Or you may need to get out there on the Gemstone Competitive League of Legends team that I'm assembling.
Oh,
You
yeah,
get
we
officially
could
conscripted, so
we
you're
could
on it.
rise the ranks of bronze together.
Yeah, man. Hey, man, I'm diamond. I don't know what you're talking
Oh,
about. Over
shoot,
here.
man.
This bronze guy. Get out of here.
I think I used to be diamond back when I played.
Yeah, everyone used
But
to be
that
diamond.
was a long time. And then I played HOTS, Heroes of the Storm.
Yep. Yeah, it transfers.
And I was
It's all the same. All right. Well, Naijin, it was awesome talking with you today. And I'm really excited to see the projects that you're working on come to fruition. And everyone is super pleased with the stuff that you've been doing. So keep up the good work. You're doing God's work out there.
For now. Who knows
For now.
when I'm going to piss people off. We'll see.
All right. Well, I'm also excited for that because that'll be another podcast episode. You defending your honor publicly. All right, man. Well, thanks again, and have a great night.
All right. Thanks for having me. See ya.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. This show is supported by people like you on Patreon who really just love to hear it. A special shout out to Eferup, Luktar, Lysel, Hellman, Lex Bubba, The Town Crier, and Conrash for being patrons of the show. If you'd like to support Town Square Central, help shape future content, and just keep the show running, consider becoming a patron today. I've included a link in the episode notes. That's all we've got for today. Get out there and buy your crossbows now, and get ready for some web-slinging fun at the next Dusk Ruin. Remember to tip your hardworking box openers at least 50%. Catch you next time on Town Square Central. Yeah, just fix the bug. No one wants to hear
Just
about
fix
it. Yeah,
Make it not suck.
exactly. All right, so